Welcome to the Success Breakthrough series. My name is Liew. I am your host today for this series where we deep dive into the journey of how ordinary people become extraordinary, who have turned their dreams into reality. The purpose of this series is really to inspire you to dream big and overcome obstacles by embracing a mindset shift or the paradigm shift that can really help you break through to your own success. I interview different people who are the leaders in their community. Through our conversation, we will explore how perseverance, mentorship, and a strong support system can really help anyone rise above challenges and achieve greatness. And guess what? Today, it is my honor and pleasure to introduce you to Akakura Burihapwa. Sorry if I pronounced the last name a little bit off. Akakura. She was born in Germany and grew up between Germany and Kenya. She has lived in 6 different countries, and currently she is living in the south of France. A trained classical singer and transformational coach, Akakura provides coaching in 4 different languages: German, English, Spanish, and French. As a coach, she focuses on working with highly sensitive women and female immigrant entrepreneurs. Now, Akakura, I would love to hear more about your story because you have a really interesting story. And I think a lot of the people will be able to relate to that. Can you share a bit about your journey and how you become passionate about helping immigrant entrepreneurs?
Thank you so much for having me, C. Hello.
Thank you.
Um, it's interesting that when you said, can you share something about your interesting story? I thought it wasn't until recently that I started to embrace and really appreciate my story. It was always anything but interesting for me because my parents, so you said that I grew up between Germany and Kenya, but my parents are actually from Burundi and they fled to Germany when there was war. So my story has been that of always being an immigrant, and it's not always been something that I liked or enjoyed sharing or even embraced. Um, until now, even with becoming a coach and also being coached, I have seen the richness of it. But there was always a lot of shame around it. Just to start off, the way I still, when somebody says your story is interesting, I'm like, really? It is. Um, and so my journey has actually been when you approached me for the interview, I realized that I've actually always been an entrepreneur as an adult. I wouldn't have called myself that. But already in my 20s, I started teaching languages. I started teaching German and English in different companies. And it was always me having to look for my clients because I was self-employed. And it was the same when I went on to become a classical singer and then also having to look for gigs, for contracts, for events, and now as a coach. So I recently also came to the realization that no matter how the path looked, I've always been an entrepreneur without even realizing it.
Hmm. Wow. That is interesting. So at what age were
Mhm.
you flew to Germany, right? Because you did say that. At what age?
So I was born in Germany, and then my family moved to Kenya when I was 6, and then I returned to Germany on my own when I was 19.
Wow.
Yes,
Okay.
19.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Without your family.
Without my family. So it is an age where, of course, people would say it's normal. You move out from home. But to move to a country that between 6 and 19. So I hadn't lived in Germany for 13 years. It was a foreign country now for me. As an adult, I had not lived there. I was not familiar with many things. And yeah, so that was the age that I moved to Germany.
Hmm. Now, Akakura, do you speak German at 19?
Yes,
You
because
do. You still remember?
I, no, I didn't still remember. I went to a German school in Kenya. So my whole education was in German.
Oh, okay. Now,
Yeah,
that is interesting, Akakura, because you went to a school that speak German, and that school probably have a lot of German teacher from Germany.
only.
Okay. Now,
Mm,
they probably teach you about the European culture, and you live in Kenya, and Kenya has its own Kenya culture.
yes.
How do they mix together as a young adult female? Because you probably have a lot of limiting belief from your family, but then a lot of conflict too. When you go to school in the European, they say, no, it's a women empowerment. Uh, we are independent. So how do you go through your life with that conflict of belief?
It was constantly, because imagine like being with my peers from school and being the only person of color. So my brother and I for a long time were at that school because you had to speak German. And so um, we went to that school because we had been born in Germany and that was the language we'd grown up with. So as you said, you see one culture, but then at home, since my parents were from Burundi, it was also a very different culture. Just to tell you one story, my grandma tragically died when I was 16 because of the war in Burundi. And the next day, my brother and I had to go to school. There was no way we were going to stay at home and grieve. From my parents' culture, that was not acceptable. My father went to work. Everything was, it was more like this robotic life goes on. And I was in class and I literally just broke down and started crying. And I went to see the headmaster and I was like, my grandma has died. And he was like, what are you doing here in school? Well, my parents sent me here to school. There was no space for grieving. And for a European, a German European, that was something he was like, why would they send you to school after receiving such news?
Mm. So,
So that was a just the just to tell you how the culture sometimes just didn't come together.
so it is my understanding, Akakura, you were born in a family that really suppressed their emotion
Yes,
because crying is probably considered a weakness.
definitely.
Now, do you cry, Akakura, when you were young?
I did. I would hide. I was always considered the emotional child. Even my mom until recently always told me you're too sensitive until I had a conversation with her a re year ago, I think, and I told her, look, mom, I'm highly sensitive. It is something that is known, it's a trait. And when you call me too sensitive, you're telling me that I'm not okay. And I would appreciate if you don't do that. And she actually apologized and she was like, oh my God, I never wanted to hurt you. I thought I was protecting you when I tell you the world is tough. Please don't cry.
Wow. You know what, Akakura, that really resonate with a lot of the audience, especially women or even men. They was like, you are too sensitive. Doesn't
Mm.
matter in a family setting, in your community, or in a corporate. So I see a lot of women who hold high position. Just like, I need to be tough, right? I need
Yes.
to suppress my emotion because I don't want people to say that I'm highly sensitive. And because there's a stigma saying that if you're sensitive, it means that you're weak.
Yes.
Yes.
Sensitive equals weak.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes. Now, Akakura, I am just curious. Will you get offended nowadays if people say that, Akakura, you are too sensitive?
Um, Not in the way it used to be, because I know that it's also the other person not being able to deal with the emotions. And ever since I learned that I'm highly sensitive and that it is a term in psychology, that it is a trait, that we are 20% of the population, I usually just say, well, that's you saying it. But who says that I'm too sensitive? Because interestingly enough, it's like when people are in pain or in trouble, who do they look for? The sensitive people in their community to listen to them.
That makes so much sense because when people go through the mental challenges, their grief, their loss, who listen to them? Yeah,
Yes,
we need these therapists, these coaches who understand. Sensitive
yes,
is not weakness. They just need time to digest the process and go through their process.
exactly.
Yes. And from what I hear from you, Akakura, to be saying that I'm sensitive or I'm crying, it's not a weakness. It's because I embrace who I am.
Definitely.
And it's
That is,
actually bravery.
yes.
Right? Yes. Hmm. Now, Akakura, my second question for you is, what really motivates you to specialize in helping this individual to find their true voice and authenticity as an entrepreneur, especially within the immigrant community? And Akakura, you are a singer too, a classical singer.
Yes, that's
Yes.
true.
Tell me more about when did you find out that you are actually a singer? You have this gift that you have a beautiful voice.
So I always liked singing. So I always sang whenever there was a musical at school or the school band. So singing was something that I loved and that I've always enjoyed. And then it wasn't until I was in my early 20s and I was having therapy, going to therapy because of the depression that I was battling with at that time. And the therapist asked me, what did you enjoy when you were younger, when you were a teenager? And I told her music. And she was like, do you know that there is a music school across the street? And I went there and I started taking piano lessons. And it was a music school that taught classical music. And then at one time, the teacher told me, okay, just play the left hand and sing the melody. And she looked at me and she's like, you're a singer. And so she convinced me to start taking singing classes. But the teacher that they hired was a classical singer. So that's how I came into classical singing and I came to appreciate it and enjoy it and love it.
Wow. Okay. Now, Akakura, I know that you also hold what do you I'm not really familiar with this music thing, but then what I know is concert, right? You also hold concert and you sing at concert. Yeah,
Yes.
tell me more about.
So that was especially before the pandemic. Ever since that, it's been less, and then I went into coaching.
Mhm.
Um, but yes, I have performed at different venues, always with a pianist and or alone or with other singers. And it was a time that I actually, or I still enjoy that. There's no, it's not to be compared with coaching because what we do as coaches is we work with one individual and it's their life and their transformation. With music, I see it more like gifting a moment of beauty where people can maybe even just tune out and forget. But it's also something that I enjoy. I enjoy people saying, "Oh, this has been a beautiful moment listening to your concert."
Now, I hear you sing before, Akakura, and it was really, really beautiful. You have to give us the link for our audience to listen to your singing. Now, when you talk about that right away, it's so matching this immigrant community, what you coach people with. And especially you were a singer, because as an immigrant, people from different culture, they come to the same country, probably a Western country. Our
Yes.
culture, especially for women, we're saying that do not take up too much space. Do not say too much because you will get yourself into trouble, because that absolutely is my limiting belief.
Mm.
And women, shh, keep your mouth shut to look elegant.
Mm.
And women, support the men in the family, because the man is meant to go out and women are supposed to be inside the house, taking care of everything. And so from your experience, Akakura, because you are a classical singer, where you really sing loud with power, and you coach immigrant entrepreneur, especially women. Now, I can really see how it is related. Tell me, tell me, how do you coach this woman? How do you, especially many immigrants, they juggle with their identity. Who am I? Who am I? How can someone begin to reconnect with their true voice while navigating cultural separations and expectations in a Western world?
I think one thing that really helps, and it's something that we both are familiar with, is for women to discover their own core values. Because most of the time, especially when we grew up, as you say, as immigrants, as females, in different cultures and with different cultural expectations, there are so many layers that many of us are not even aware what we actually appreciate, what we value, and what matters to us. Because before you're aware of what matters to you, you're aware of what matters to your culture of origin and to the people of the country you're living in. And I really see that there are breakthroughs when people start to discover, maybe for the first time, or reconnect to their core values and say, I care about this. I don't care about this.
Mm.
This is important to me. So the first thing is to know you before you can live or build your life. The important thing is to connect to the person who you are, to
Mm.
start knowing her and to create a space where there are no other voices. Because every day, day in, day out, we hear voices all the time. And to go to a place, and it's what's important for me to create a space in my coaching where their outside voices remain outside.
Mm. Like that. Now, Akakura, tell me, how do you help this entrepreneur separate the culture or family expectation from their true entrepreneurial vision? Because women, we hold many different roles. And
Mm.
to be an entrepreneur is not easy. So
Mm.
women is always in the middle. It's like, do I spend all my energy taking care of my family? Or do I spend all this energy holding a business? And many entrepreneurs, especially for women, we are so confused. And so, how do you help them?
I think the values is the first step because once you see black on white what's important to you, you will be able to make decisions according to that.
Mhm.
And then a next step is also to build the awareness and to be okay with the fact that you will disappoint. You may disappoint your family. You may disappoint anyone who has expectations to you when you start going for the life that you envision.
Mm.
And I think there's learning that there's no way around disappointing because we've been conditioned and we've grown up thinking that I have to do everything perfect. I have to bring the perfect marks home. I have to be the best at school so that my family is happy. I have to be the perfect immigrant. Never forget to buy a ticket on the bus because that will reflect badly on all the immigrant community. So that's the conditioning. Be perfect, be perfect, be perfect. And once you start realizing what life you want to live, the next step is, am I ready to disappoint? Am I ready to not fulfill the expectations?
So you're trying to tell me that I cannot please everyone to make everyone happy. There's no perfect world.
Mm.
Wow. So Akakura, that really sounds like coming from experience,
Yes, it
right?
does.
So how
It
do
does.
you overcome that? I cannot please everyone, especially for women. We want to please everyone. We want to take care of everything. How do you overcome that? That you disappointed other people who put on their own expectations on you?
I think what has helped me is to put people in, how do you say, to also be clear about who is this, who has this expectation. Is it someone who's close to me, or is it just an acquaintance or a stranger? And
Mhm.
to start there, start with the people that actually are not really close to you, but somehow have started telling you what they expect from you. And then also know that when people don't respect your space or your time or whatever you need, ask yourself, are these the people that I want to continue on my journey?
Mhm.
Because most of the time we're only focused on, oh, what if they don't want me anymore? Do you want them?
Mhm.
If they expect this and this and this and this for you. So it's never easy, especially for me as a highly sensitive person. And I had a conversation today with my cousin who's also highly sensitive and a coach that it's never easy for us to disappoint or to just put um, some barriers. But um, it is important to know that if it's at the cost of your mental peace and health, then yes, it is worth it. It's not easy. It doesn't feel comfortable. Sometimes when I really how do you say I say no, I really feel the unease in my body. But after that, I tell myself I did this for me, for myself. And I needed to do that because there was a time where I was everywhere and I was trying to be everyone for everybody.
Mhm.
And I wasn't being there for myself.
So I really like that. Now, Akakura, I'm just curious. If I'm a woman immigrant entrepreneur, which I am, immigrant living in a Western country, come with a lot of my culture limiting belief of who I should be, what I should be doing. And we know that to be an entrepreneur is very lonely and it's
Mm.
very stressful.
Yes.
What would you recommend for a woman who's like, I don't know, I'm so stressed, I have family to take care of, I have this expectation, I don't want to let my parents down. Um, what do you think they need to really help support them? And how do you overcome that from your experience? Because what happens if I can't find people in my circle that have the same mindset as me?
Mm.
Where can I go?
I think it's first of all important to really know that even when you do something today that will make your family happy, the next expectation is just around the corner. Ask yourself, how long do I want to play this? How long do I want to go in circle? Do I want to run my own race? Or do I really want to keep taking the baton that's handed to me from my family, from the culture?
Mhm.
And is it worth it? Is it worth, like, if you check in with yourself and you feel like I'm doing all this, but I'm miserable, is it worth it? Is
Mhm.
it worth feeling miserable?
Mhm.
And to just remember that you live once. This is not a rehearsal. And sometimes also think of when you're an entrepreneur, when you start living the life that you feel was designed for you, there are people who are looking up to you, and there are people who will say thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you for going this way. Thank you for being brave. Thank you for stepping out of this circle because now you've helped me, and I'm also seeing that I don't want to be in this circle.
Mhm.
Sometimes you'll be the one who will start building that community, but the people who will thank you for it will be there.
Mhm. Now, Akakura, how can an immigrant entrepreneur start embracing their unique story and experience to strengthen their business brand and messaging?
So I think the embracing the story part is where we first need to retell the story. Because as immigrants, we were told a story that we were not welcome. We came from, if our parents came to this country to look for better life, then life in the country where we're from must be miserable. Maybe there was no interest in the culture where we came from. And starting to tell the story as it actually is, that we are the descendants of really brave people who decided to leave. They left behind everything they knew, everyone they knew. They came to a country that they didn't know. They learned a language. They did, they studied, they made businesses, they did all kinds of things. They built lives in a new country with a new culture and really starting to become aware that this is something to be proud of. Immigrants are amazing because they're brave. They don't just stay there and say, okay, and to start telling yourself that. And then from there, include your story when you build your business and your brand, because it will resonate with those people who it resonates with.
Hmm. Right. Yes. So, what is the one piece of advice would you give to an immigrant entrepreneur who is really struggling, trying to figure out where to start with showing up authenticity?
Hmm. Start by really, this is maybe not a typical or expected advice, but it's something that helped me. Start intentionally spending time with yourself
Hmm.
because you need that space to listen to your thoughts and start really discovering what makes you you, what makes you unique without anybody else telling you who you are. I think it all starts with an internal journey. And I think that we're both familiar that there's something with the fact that there's some things that you can't just grab. You have to take out some of the old stuff, take out some of the old beliefs, the limiting beliefs, and then plant the new seeds. But in order to do that, you need quiet. Our lives are so loud, and we're constantly listening to other people, whether we're aware or not. But in order to show it authentically, you have to spend time with the person who you are and also start being clear, becoming clear about what are the things that you actually that matter to you, that you enjoy, that you want to achieve. How does life look if all these expectations, ask yourself, if all these expectations weren't there, what would I actually do with my life?
Mm.
If I didn't have to do all this, A, B, C, D, how would I spend my time? Is it going to painting class? Go to painting class. Sometimes it's these things. For me, it was classical music because I discovered there were a lot of people who told me, you're Black, you should be singing jazz. Why? Why? This would have been what is expected and it fits. But if you want to do something else, you do what you want to do and what you feel you have to do.
That so resonate with me, Akakura. With Asian community, especially for girl, you should learn piano, right? That's what my mom
Everybody.
did. Go for your piano. Why? Well, yeah, girls should just learn piano or violin. And that
Yes,
is just the
exactly.
culture, right? The community expectation. But it's not necessarily mean that I want it. I want to play basketball.
Right? You
Yes.
want to play basketball, then do that. And I think really thinking, what would I do if there was no expectation? And then do those things step by step and recognize, even when you just do a little thing or you don't do a little thing, just already celebrate that. Because sometimes we think, I have to cut these people out of my life. I have to stop doing this stuff. Don't overwhelm yourself
Mm.
because you've been living in those expectations in this life for a long time. Start with little things. Start with maybe asking yourself, do I want a Christmas tree? Is that my culture, or is it something that I need because everybody else has lights outside?
Yeah.
How do I celebrate this season? What is my way of doing these things?
Exactly. I think you're so true, Akakura. Nowadays, what I see is many people are trying to fit into the culture.
Mm.
Christmas is coming. I better decorate my home. I better make turkey, even though no one like to eat turkey. Why you eat turkey? Because it's the culture. For years, I baked turkey for Christmas because my ex expect that. And I don't even eat turkey. And nowadays, my kids like, Mom, are we eating turkey? I'm like, why? No, you eat turkey? They said, no, I don't like it. No, then we eat chicken then. We eat chicken. That is so true. Now, Akakura, I have a questions for you. From your experience, because you did mention that you went and see a therapist, right? When you were a
Yes.
teen, and now you are a coach. I am just curious. What do you see the difference
Mm.
between a therapist and a coach? What does a coach do that a therapist doesn't do?
So that's my experience. Of course, I believe that there are different forms of therapy, but the three therapists I worked with, it was a lot of talking about what had happened, but it's more about, okay, now you're dealing with depression and let's see how we can make you function with it, or just like accept the past. What I see in coaching, especially the way we have experienced it in our training, is actually empowering someone and telling them the answer is in you. So therapists sometimes may also tell you what to do, while coaches will ask you so that the answer comes from within. And we also do things like working with the inner child, doing all the work of looking for root causes of certain limiting beliefs and trauma. But myself, I feel that in coaching, I have felt when working with coaches, I felt more empowered, not like a patient. So psychologists or therapists call the people they work with patients. Coaches call them coachees or clients. They're not patients.
Mhm.
There's nothing wrong with you. You just need a space to discover what directions you want to take or what's important to you. You need a safe space, but you're not a patient.
I like how you differentiate the meaning between a coach and a therapist, what they do and what they do not do. And most important is the client. I feel
Yes.
empowered and I
Yes.
can move forward instead
Yes.
of looking backward. Yeah, you do this to me, you do that to me with a lot of resentment and blaming and complaining.
Yes.
Wow, it sounds like what you do is Akakura. You create a safe space for your client
Yes.
and to help them find their authenticity, embrace their past, and then reframe whatever story that we make up of, and you help them to their future.
Yes.
Is that
Exactly.
correct? Mm,
Exactly.
wow, that is very inspired. Now, Akakura, our audience, women entrepreneur, women, sensitive women. It's like, Akakura, I need that space. I need the woman who can see the possibility in me. So I don't have to fight with my husband, my kids, my in-law, my mom, my dad, and the community expectations of what I should be. How they define me as I'm a good woman or I'm not a good woman. Where can they find you?
So I am on Instagram. My name is Agakura Coaching. I'll have to see. I think it's Agakura_coaching. I never look for myself on Instagram. Do you know your telephone number?
Exactly. We don't
And
call
so,
ourselves out. But you tell
exactly.
me today, we must
Yes,
call ourselves out, right? Go
yes,
within. Mm,
exactly. Um, and so then I have my YouTube channel, Highly Sensitive Planet,
okay.
which I will also soon be separating per language so that it's easier to find and easier for the algorithm. But for now, it's Highly Sensitive Planet. And then there's my email, Agakura Coaching, it's one word, at gmail.com. That's where you can find me. And I will be happy to help you find you.
I
Find you who
love
you
that.
are. Go inside and see. And because I have this picture of a little girl hiding in a closet, and that is my work. Like, let's get you out of that closet and find you
As when
and
you say that,
facilitate that.
the little girl hiding in the closet, right
Yes.
away, it reflects on the very popular cartoon called The Monster Inc. Right? There's a monster hiding in the closet, and which is so true. We all have a monster hiding within us. And that's why nowadays we are so busy on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram,
Yes.
and we go story after story, swipe left or swipe right, because we are so afraid to
Mm.
go within, because there's
Yes.
a lot of suppressed emotions that we have since we were very young.
Yes.
And I'm sure, Akakura, you're holding your client's hand
Yes.
to walk towards the closet,
Mm.
to go and rescue the little girl in her
Yes.
so she can find herself again.
That is the work that I do. Yes.
Mm.
And that I enjoy and love doing.
Wow.
Thank you.
Oh, that is an important word. Thank you, Akakura.
Thank you, C.
Thank you for your time today to come on for the interview, to inspire our audience and empower our audience. This is what we must all do. And please check out Akakura on her YouTube, on her Instagram. Email her, reach out to her. And Akakura, if I reach out to you, what should I say in the email? How should I reach out to you?
Just do you, oh yes, and I have a Calendly link for if you want a free discovery call. So it's just I heard this, or I'm curious to know more, or just I want to have a talk. I want to have a chat. Let's just get together and have a quick 15 minutes talk and see where, how, and if I can help you. And if it's what you need. And if not, maybe I can refer you to someone because we all know people in the space that we work on, right? So that is just say hi. I watched your interview and I'm curious to know more.
I
Thank you,
love that.
C.
It is all about heart-to-heart conversation. No hard
Exactly.
selling, not
No,
forcing people to buy, which we encounter so many salespeople nowadays.
exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. And thank you for this space, C, and for the work that you do and all the encouragement. You're an encouragement to me, and I know that for many, many, many women in this space. Thank you.
Thank you, Akakura, for your time. So, my audience, women, it is time. If you're a highly sensitive woman or a women entrepreneur and you're dying to find your voice, to know who you are, what you are made up of, and you need the support, please reach out to Akakura. She is here for you. And if you're inspired by these conversations today and want to take the next step into your journey, I invite you to message Akakura, email her, or drop me a comment below. Together, let's empower each other to embrace our potential and create our extraordinary life. I hope to see you next.